Now, a survey by the environmental charity Hubbub has found that half of all flights taken by young British men in the last year were for stag do's. A third of those taken by women under the age of 40 were for hen parties. The charity says arranging pre-wedding do's overseas is bad for the environment. Is it time to ditch the foreign stag do? Be interesting to hear from you if you had your do in the UK or if you've been asked to go on a foreign stag or hen do. Robert?
I do. I mean, I was surprised by the sheer quantity. I've got to say
it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. But I feel. I mean, I've seen them when I go. My dad lives over in Portugal, and I get to Faro Airport sometimes. I see like the stag do from Manchester, one from Newcastle, one from London, one from Belfast arriving. And really, it needs David Attenborough there, because when when the stags meet the hens, and the noises are being made, it is fascinating. But I just feel I feel it'd be being a bit of a killjoy to say that those sort of trips should be denied people. It's not the sort of thing that necessarily appeals to me, but I think in terms of we've got to improve, obviously, our environmental travel. But I wonder really if we should be focusing on day-to-day, the way people have travelled, get to A to B with work and things, and the rail network here, rather than penalising people who just want to let their hair down and go to, Spain or something for a weekend for a stag do. I just feel that's a bit killjoy.
But I suppose just an awareness, if you're thinking about going abroad on one of these trips, of just how much air traffic is down to that, might make you think twice. I don't know. What do you reckon, Selma?
I don't know. I find these quite unhelpful, this rhetoric of, oh my God, everyone going on stag do's and hen do's are killing the environment. Because it feels really dramatic, and I don't think it's necessarily fair. Yes, aviation and the aviation industry contribute hugely to climate change and the problems with our environment currently. But also, actually, for example, why don't we look instead at industries that are causing bigger problems, or companies? So, for example, 75% of global emissions come from 100 companies. Mm-hmm. And none of them are in aviation. Do you know what I mean? And why don't we look at those things and go, actually, how about, I don't know, Amazon use less packaging, and why do I have 4 cardboard boxes for 1 keyring wrapped up in 75 bits of plastic? Because that seems to be what happens with my every Amazon order, right? Why don't we look at companies that can make real, huge, significant changes, or look at supermarkets and say, for example, why is any of your fruit and veg packaged in plastic, right? Because it actually doesn't need to be. And why aren't there taxes for that, or fines and levies against those kinds of things? Instead of looking at individuals. And what I fear with this kind of rhetoric is that we give people fatigue on certain subjects, because now I'm trying to bring my water bottle everywhere, and I'm trying to bring my cloth shopping bag everywhere. And now there's another thing that makes me a terrible human if I go on my stag do to Spain, right? So I think it just sometimes sends the wrong message, and we're looking at it in the wrong way. And Robert said, it's just a bit of a killjoy, and that's not where our main problem is, or where we're going to find the big solutions.
But I suppose that these solutions are not... There's not a silver bullet. We know that. It's going to be a whole raft of changes. And I wonder if these kind of studies just make people think about stuff a little bit more. And that's all. Because I don't think that they're necessarily demonising stag do's and hen do's with this research. They're just saying, look, that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it does make you think about it. And the truth is, I'm someone who always tries to actively work to be more conscious about my environmental footprint and what I'm doing. But if I'm completely honest with myself, I only started bringing my cloth carrier bag to the supermarket when they took away all of the plastic bags, and I either had to pay for it or carry my shopping home in my arms, which I did a few times, and then couldn't get everything I needed because I'd forgotten my cloth bag. Do you know what I mean? I only started implementing real change once there was processes in place that meant I had to, right? So yes, it's all, and loads of people were talking about the environment before then. I didn't do anything about it. If, for example, all the straws were suddenly taken away, I would bring a metal straw out with me. I don't bring one out with me now. So yes, it's all good and well us thinking about it and putting it in the public conscious, and I think that's important. But I think there's a certain level of fatigue that we're just naturally going to get, and I worry that we're going to get to the point where we're like, oh God, I'm sick of talking about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not doing it.
The